Have you ever poured your life savings into someone else's dream only to discover you were funding the wings that carried their betrayal? I asked, my voice low across the table as my best friend Cam stirred her iced coffee, eyebrows drawn in concern. The cafe's morning rush hummed around us, espresso machines hissing, pastries clinking in display cases, but all I felt was the slow burn of rage that had taken residence in my chest. "It's brutal," she said softly, sliding her purse off the chair. "Tell me." I took a deep breath, remembering the first time I saw the trip itinerary. Alex had brandished it like a victory flag in early March. We'd been together almost 5 years, sharing everything from rent to pet custody to plans for early retirement. He grinned, email open to a PDF titled Mediterranean Executive Retreat. "My company's picking up the airfare, but I need you to cover the villa stay," he said, tapping the number £7,500. "It's a critical client offsite. You know I can't afford any distractions." Behind his earnest brown eyes, though, I'd glimpsed something else, excitement that felt a bit too eager for a boardroom retreat. "I'll transfer your half right now," I said, opening my banking app and typing in the digits of our joint account. My fingers hovered over the send button. I paused, then hit confirm. Watching the confirmation ping across my screen, I tried to trust him. After all, that same joint account had paid our rent, our veterinary bills, my tuition for the MBA. I was juggling nights and weekends to finish. My savings were hard-won, each paycheck's fraction I'd tucked away for the day we upgraded to that dream ski chalet or our own tiny beachfront cottage. I wasn't just giving him money, I was investing in our shared future. Why is there a photo of him with another woman on his Instagram story? That text from my sister Sarah arrived on my phone 2 days before Alex was set to leave. I was at the gym, wiping sweat from my forehead, when I saw the notification, a screenshot of Alex's story. Him and a foreign woman in bikinis, arms wrapped around each other at that very villa's infinity pool. Beneath it, his caption, Retreat Partner 2.0, see you Monday. The luxury villa, the sun-bleached walls, the rocky coastline, unmistakable. My mouth went dry. I sprinted to the locker room, phone clutched in shaking hand. I dialed Alex on WhatsApp. "What is this?" I demanded when he answered, voice full of static. "It's nothing, Em," he said, trying a carefree laugh. "She's just part of the team, VIP client relations. It's all business." "Business?" My voice cracked like mirror glass. "The client relations rep is half-dressed by the pool with her head on your shoulder," he sighed. "Look, I'm sorry you're upset, but if you'd stop micromanaging—" I cut him off. "Do not stop micromanaging. You used my savings to pay for that villa. I want a refund." His laughter boomed. "Refund? You can't refund a villa booked mid-season, Emma. That money's gone." His tone was dismissive, cold. I realized then that I had bankrolled not just a retreat, but his betrayal. And that money, our money, was an anchor tethering me to this sham of a relationship. The spark. That weekend, I emptied my bank account history, jotting down every transfer, every vendor payment, Villa Del Mare, Mediterranean Villas Ltd, Elite Services Concierge. I calculated £7,500 and villa, another £1,200 on local catering, £800 in resort excursion fees. Nearly $10,000 vanished in the Mediterranean sun into someone else's arms. My future home fund, reduced by what felt like half my net worth. When I confronted Alex in person, a shaky dinner date at our favorite sushi spot, he deflected blame with the ease of a practiced politician. "I told you it was essential," he said. "I'm building my career." I slammed soy sauce onto the table. "You're building your affair." The waitress recoiled as soy and wasabi splattered across the lacquered wood. He slumped, defeated, or so I thought. "I'll call the bank," I continued, voice quaking. "I'll dispute the charges." He looked up, relief flickering in those brown eyes. "Emma, please, don't do that. I promise it'll all balance out." But I'd seen the photos. I knew the truth. I stood leaving him to his sake and silence, and walked out. That night, I lay awake in the dark, mind racing. How to convert this rage into something greater than revenge, something that would rewire the unfair economy of betrayal. That's when the idea hit. If my savings bought the villa, why couldn't I buy the company that owned the villa? If I could control the rental schedule, I could ground his flights the day he landed, put a hold on his account, and let him stew on the tarmac in the gown of his own greed. But a villa was one thing, an entire airline was something else. Monday morning found me at my desk in my tiny startup's shared office, spreadsheets and investor decks burning through my screen. I'd pounded out a business plan outline over the weekend. Target acquisition, Eurolux Air, small boutique carrier specializing in Mediterranean charters with a winter route network to ski resorts. Annual revenue, 30M. Evaluate share price, 15 times share. Funding strategy, refinance my condo for 200K, secure a silent partner through Sarah's private equity contacts for 150K, and line up a mezzanine loan for the remaining 350K. Timeline, LOI by month's end, due diligence and closing in 6 weeks, immediate management overhaul. Key clause, freeze accounts and block flights for any passenger ID flagged in our betrayal index, beginning with Alex's passport number. My palms slick with sweat, I scrolled LinkedIn for Eurolux's executive team, tracked down their CFO's email in a dusty PDF. I fired off a cold message. Inquiry, potential acquisition interest from private investor, requesting financial statements. Then I drafted a formal LOI, humming as I crafted the language, no room for ambiguity, no hint of personal vendetta, just cold corporate precision. That afternoon, over avocado toast at my desk, the CFO replied, intrigued, let's set up a call Wednesday 10 a.m. GMT. My heart stuttered. An entire airline could be mine. The potential for retribution, tempered, yes, but powerful. I leaned back, steeling myself for the high-stakes negotiations of my life, negotiations and allies. The call was a blur of financial jargon, EBITDA multiples, fleet valuations, route profitability. Each time the CFO, Claude Mallet, paused to ask, why the sudden interest? I smiled and said, I see untapped potential in luxury charters, winter to Alps, summer to Greek Isles. I have a vision to expand market share. He chuckled. Ambitious, especially for a private investor we've never met. All the better, I replied. I'd like to meet in person. 2 days later, I flew on another boutique carrier to Nice, just for the meeting. I wore my power suit, hair tied back, presentation in hand. Claude greeted me at the Riviera Airport Lounge, 2 espressos waiting. We shook hands, an old-school deal-maker's gesture. Over caffeine, we hashed out terms. A 51% acquisition of Eurolux at £20 share, valuing the company at £40 million. With my financing lined up, I could offer £20M. The CFO's brow rose. That's a premium, he said. Our board will be interested. I nodded, glancing at my pitch book. Premium for vision. You'll see ROI in 18 months. He agreed to present to the board. I flew home feeling the vertigo of power, one sleeper cell of betrayal about to detonate at full corporate force, building the orbits. Back in my city apartment, I created secure folders, Project Grounding, where I stored Alex's flight details gleaned from his LinkedIn bio, his boarding passes he'd once bragged about on social media, his passport number tucked into an online profile. I set up an empathy-driven marketing narrative. Eurolux, where trust elevates travel, rebranding the airline with a new motto that would give me plausible deniability when we froze certain passenger accounts. At dusk, Cam came over. She frowned at my furious typing. You realize this is borderline insane. She perched on my futon. You want to buy an airline to screw him over? I sipped red wine between lines of code. It's more than revenge. I showed her the new corporate slide, a sleek eagle in flight, tagline, Elevate with Trust. I'm reclaiming my agency, turning his theft into my takeover. She studied the slide. You're brilliant, you know that, she laughed. People will fly you to suit up for that. 2 weeks later, the board meeting in Paris sealed the deal, unanimous approval. I wired the first tranche of 10M, signed the SPA, and Claude pressed the keys to my new digital safe. Eurolux's executive portal. I owned the majority stake in the airline that had carried my boyfriend to his betrayal. I felt like a protagonist in some corporate espionage thriller. Preparing the grounding, my final task before closing day. Prepare the executive order to freeze any account tied to Alex's passport number or reservation history. I drafted the policy, grounding clause 13B, in cases of documented fiduciary malfeasance by passenger toward investor, accounts may be suspended pending investigation. A week before his scheduled departure, I had my general counsel file the amendment and ensure cabin crews and ground staff were notified through secure internal channels. In my mind, I saw the moment clearly. Alex, at the gate lounge in Nice, boarding pass in hand, scanning the kiosk, the screen flashing. Boarding pass invalid. Please see gate agent. His face, confusion, anger, humiliation, but also recognition that the quiet woman he'd undermined was now the one holding the controls. The day before my control took effect, I hosted a small dinner at home with Cam, Sarah and Claude over Zoom to celebrate Eurolux's rebranding launch. We toasted to new flights, new heights, and I allowed myself a sliver of hope that this was more than a grudge, it was a new adventure. That night, as I lay in bed, sleep eluded me. My phone buzzed with news alerts. Eurolux announces new investor with vision for premium trust travel. I scrolled through the congratulatory tweets. Then I texted the last words to Alex, still sitting in my phone's blocked caller list. Bon voyage. Tomorrow, the rumour mill would churn. Tomorrow, corporate PR would scramble. But for tonight, I closed my eyes, adrenaline waning, and imagined his flight, too heavy to leave the ground. As the sun rose over Terminal 2, I arrived at the Eurolux check-in desk 10 minutes before Alex's scheduled flight. My crisp navy blazer bore the new Eurolux Eagle logo, and in my hand was a tablet with the day's flight manifest. Your standard executive charters, plus one very special amendment. Grounding Clause 13B. Any passenger flagged for documented fiduciary malfeasance toward any majority stakeholder shall have boarding privileges suspended until review. Boarding began at Gate 14B, and already a line of business travellers in tailored suits fanned across the black carpets. I took my place behind the cordon, flanked by our head of ground operations, Sylvia, and two uniformed gate agents. The hush held a current of anticipation. People had heard the whispers that the new Eurolux owner was a woman scorned, turning corporate power into personal justice. At exactly 9:15 a.m., Sylvia keyed the tablet. Boarding Eurolux 673 to Nice. Welcome, Eurolux Premium members. Wallets flipped open, passports were scanned. One by one, executives and vacationers ascended the jet bridge toward the private jet staircase. Then came Alex. He stepped up in a linen blazer over jeans, unusually casual for him, his boarding pass clutched in sweaty fingers. He slid it across the counter. The agent, eyes flicking to the screen, froze. "I'm sorry, Mr. Matthews," she said, voice neutral. "Your boarding pass is invalid." Alex's smile stuttered. "What? My company booked this flight." The agent shook her head. "I'm afraid Eurolux Policy 13B has flagged your account. Please contact the owner or your travel coordinator." She handed back the boarding pass, and he sagged, as if the ground itself had collapsed beneath him. I stepped forward, heart hammering, yet composed. "Mr. Matthews?" His gaze snapped to mine, recognition and fury colliding. "I'm Eva Sinclair, majority shareholder. I'm afraid you won't be boarding today." He opened his mouth, then closed it, shock stealing his breath. "You can't do this," he hissed, voice low. "I can," I said softly. "You misused our joint funds to finance your affair in that villa." A hush swept over the gathering line. As per our corporate policy, actions that breach fiduciary trust will be met with immediate suspension of service. I hope you'll understand, it's a matter of principle. A ripple of murmured approval rose behind me. A man in a charcoal suit muttered "She's got a point." Others snapped photos. A young woman on her phone filmed Alex's stunned face and posted it live. #grounded for betrayal. He spun, voice cracking. "You're humiliating me." I bowed my head, saddened but resolute. Sometimes accountability must be public. I'm sorry. Then I turned and walked away, leaving him arguing with the agent. The jet bridge hummed back to life for the next passenger. No idle seat for cheaters here. Aftermath at Gate 14B. Word spread faster than any press release. By 10 a.m., the Eurolux PR inbox overflowed. I passed the device to our communications director, James. Craft a measured statement. Eurolux is committed to trust excellence. We enforce our policies uniformly. Then offer an exclusive interview slot. Let's control the narrative. He nodded, fingers flying over the keyboard. Meanwhile, Alex's phone buzzed with frantic texts. I watched him crouch in a corner, cradling the boarding pass like a wounded animal. He snapped photos of the denial screen, posted pleas. "Help! Eurolux won't let me fly. #unfair." Fellow travellers whispered, some shaking their heads in sympathy, others with smirks. The attendant offered him water. He refused, staring after me as I walked away. Media and morale. By noon, the story dominated the local news ticker. Breaking: scorned CEO grounds ex-fiancée. Mid-boarding live crews appeared at Gate 14B. A microphone was thrust at me as I hurried back to the operations office. "Ms. Sinclair, is this personal revenge?" demanded a reporter, pressing the mic under my chin. I glanced at my team, James giving thumbs down to any wild replies. I took a breath. Grounding Clause 13B applies to any individual proven to misuse corporate or joint assets for personal gain. Our code of conduct requires zero tolerance. Case closed. I pivoted and strode past the cameras. The murmurs trailed behind me like a train whistle, but I felt an odd calm. Power isn't always loud. That afternoon, I held a company-wide town hall by video link. Over 400 Eurolux staff, pilots, cabin crew, gate agents, maintenance crews logged on. I addressed them seated in a boardroom filled with sunlit windows. Thank you for your dedication to our mission. Excellence rooted in trust. Today's demonstration wasn't about revenge. It was about setting a standard. We will not let personal betrayals undermine the faith our passengers place in us. The screens flickered with head nods and applause emojis. Morale soared. A public apology. Late that evening, I received a private email from Alex. Subject line, "Please read." I opened it in my living room. "Eva, I know I hurt you, and I don't expect forgiveness. But I also know I drove Eurolux's stock rally this morning. Our shares jumped 5% on the news. The world praised your stance. I'm sorry for the betrayal, but thank you for the unintended boost. If you'll allow it, I'd like to make amends, publicly. Can we record a statement together, for the shareholders?" I stared at the screen. Guilt flickered. This was partly his misdeed, partly my story. But I tapped decline, then I typed, "Mr. Matthews, your attempt to benefit from your own wrongdoing is emblematic of the very breach we punished. This channel is closed. E.S." I hit send and felt a rush of closure, turning scandal into service. The next morning, I stood on the Eurolux maintenance ramp beside a gleaming Airbus A319 emblazoned with the new slogan, "Trust flies first." Behind me, cameras from national networks circled. I waved airline staff forward, pilots in crisp uniforms, flight attendants in scarlet scarves. "Today," I announced into the live mic, "we launch Eurolux's new Trust program, subsidised seats and skills training for professionals who've faced public shaming or career derailments. Because when trust is broken, it's our duty to help rebuild." Engineers wheeled out bottles of water branded Trust, and the crew applauded. The cameraman zoomed in on the new T emblem woven into the scarf, where our eagle's wing met the horizon. Local charities called with offers to partner, job retraining for ex-offenders, free flights for frontline workers, emergency airlifts for medical volunteers. The scandal had lit a fire. Our brand now symbolized accountability and empathy. A turnaround in Alex. 6 weeks later, I received an envelope at HQ, a precision-cut boarding pass mock-up with the message, "Farewell." Inside a letter, "Eva, I've taken your lesson to heart. I'm donating £10,000 to your trust program and enrolling in your retraining scheme's leadership workshop. I understand this can't undo the past, but I hope it's a start. Thank you for being both my judge and my teacher. AM." I read it in the CEO's office, printing it out and tacking it to my inspiration board next to the old PDF of that villa's invoice. I imagined Alex stepping onto one of our trust flights, this time as a student, traversing not just geographies but personal growth. Epilogue, the upshot. 2 months after the grounding, Eurolux's quarterly report boasted record passenger loyalty, trust index up 30% year-over-year, and an unprecedented surge in corporate contracts for our accountable air charter service. Industry analysts marveled. A bold move in corporate governance, this may set the new standard for travel ethics. As for me, I still wake early, stirring my tea while reviewing tomorrow's flight schedules. The thrill of control has settled into a steady resolve. Power wielded with purpose can turn betrayal into breakthrough. I scrawl new ideas in my Evernote. Trust Incubator, Grounded Voices podcast, Elevate Empathy Airline Academy. Each project expands the circle of those we ground no more and those we uplift instead. In my handbag, I carry a boarding pass of my own design, Eva Sinclair, Captain of Trust, a reminder that once you learn to navigate betrayal, you chart a course to somewhere far greater than revenge. Because in the end, the sky's the limit, especially when the only thing you ground is injustice and you let hope take flight.